when OKI, there are council of governments for Greater Cincinnati, that's where the planning goes through for federal funds. When we said we wanted to do a new transportation plan, they said, well, you just did one. And what happens with many governments is you do the plan and it's put on the shelf and no one ever looks at it. And we were able to pull our 2006 plan out and said, well, here's why we need to do a new one. We've completed the highest priorities, and our community's grown faster than planned, and we need to do it. And once they saw that, they were just amazed that we actually had used the plan and executed the plan, and it wasn't a waste of money that was put on a shelf somewhere and never looked at again.
Fantastic. You mentioned the schools there too. I want to pay a little tribute to the schools myself, having a couple of my children that went through Boone County schools. My son Guy Stephenson, who's the head of the revenue cabinet here in Northern Kentucky, and proud Connor graduate, and my daughter Michelle, who just retired from the health department after 20 years, graduated from Boone County High School, and still lives in the county. And but I wanted to say a little thank you to the Sheriff's Department, Mike Helmick in the Sheriff's Department, who jumped in and your leadership and other leadership and made the schools safe immediately after all of the tragedies in other states. They were steps ahead and put resource officers in the schools. That was a wonderful decision, and that shows you how you were prepared and jumped into it and took care of that issue.
Back when the DARE program, that was when officers went to the schools and talked to the youth about not using drugs, that program was sort of evolving and winding down. And we looked at it, and we were one of the first counties to put school resource officers in. Those first few years, it was just at the high schools. And then we realized, well, we needed officers that would go to the middle schools part-time and wound up being full-time. But after the tragedies around our country of these school shootings, we were the first county to go countywide with school resource officers. Sometimes we use acronyms, so if I revert to calling them SROs, school resource officers, we were the first to put them in every public school. We got a call from the sheriff at the courthouse, and the sheriff said, I think through some shifting of responsibilities, I can cover most of it, but we may need some more funding to make it happen. Randy Poe and Bob Stork, the school systems, they decided to come to the table and pay half. And but we immediately said, absolutely, we will help you cover any gap that you have in making this happen, because protecting our students, protecting our schools is one of the essential units of responsibilities of government. And we were happy to do that right away.
Absolutely, and did a great job. Now, you know my good friend Gil Hammond and Jan Hammond that own the Christian radio station, 107.5 FM out of Falmouth, Kentucky. I always put a plug in for them because they do great work. And when they retired from education, Gil taught for 10 years at Beechwood Science, and his wife taught at Simon Kenton, and then eventually over at Northern Kentucky University of Business. And they've done a wonderful job down there, and June and I are partners down there with them. And I always tell people that down at Post Office Box 50, you can get in touch with them down there. And or if you got questions about WIOK 107.5, you can email me. And my email address, I'm allowed to put that on public access here, small j, small s, 7500000@gmail.com.
And how many O's were in
there? There was 5 O's altogether, 7, 5, and 5 O's.
All right, there you go. Yes,
and but I want to say something else about education. You know, you talk about education. Back in that 1970 year when I first moved into Boone County in Cherry Hill subdivision, 677 Maple Tree Lane.
Yeah.
And I can remember teaching school, and the first year teaching, I made $6,000 to teach that year and $300 to be the head track coach.
Oh,
and now I just wanted to point out that I didn't stay teaching that way, but I've been on this television with over 1,000 shows, teaching ever since. And I also have used the opportunity on these shows to support primary and secondary education and on our colleges and our universities. And in 1975, the Kentucky Education Association presented me with an award as the outstanding, not teacher, but citizen in the state promoting public education. Because we have gone from $6,000 a year was what I made to today, the average teacher salary in Kentucky is about $52,000 a year. And if you compare it with, that's just what it is, if you compare it with the cost of living, it actually jumps up with the other states. And now we're then we were like 47th, 48th in the nation. Today we're about 11th or 7th in the nation. So we've come a long ways, but we got more to do. And just because you've come a long way, it doesn't mean that you don't stop funding things properly. And one of the things we gotta do, but we also gotta realize, and I tell people this, there is no such thing as a free lunch. Somebody pays for the free lunch somewhere. And in the system of education, somebody pays those bills and those taxes, and they expect accountability, they expect quality teaching, and they expect their children to learn properly, and hopefully they learn not just from the textbooks, from the Lord's Word, the Bible. And I had to say I admire our governor for putting teaching history of the Bible back into the classroom where it can be done.
Well, that's absolutely necessary too, and I'm pleased that that's happened as well. You know, we never can rest on our laurels and feel like you mentioned where we've gotten to, where we rank. But that's true with everything that we do.
Absolutely.
I think back to when I was walking door to door and running for office the first time, people asked me, why do you have a county police department and a county sheriff? Why does the city of Walton have a 3-person police department? And we got to office, and being new, maybe not knowing better, I just ran right into that issue, and we merged everyone. We looked at Florence. We had discussions about Florence being part of it, and Florence chose not to, and I think that was probably the right decision now looking back. But the rest of the county merged into one countywide sheriff's department with today we have 142 deputy sheriffs, because it's not just a traditional sheriff's department, it's also the law enforcement agency of the county. And you know, a lot of times you do those things when you're new and bold. I'm always challenging myself and my staff to say, now what do we do next? And so as we again look forward and we think about where we're going, we decided just over the last 6 months to build this new region-wide Boone, Kenton, Campbell communication system. The towers are being built now, the equipment's going up on them, but we will have an 800 megahertz communication system for all of our first responders in Boone, Kenton, and Campbell. And it will really go beyond that. Even the utility workers for Duke Energy or SD1 or Boone Water, whoever, they'll be able to talk to each other. When there is a community-wide emergency, having that ability to have thousands of people able to talk to each other on a handheld radio is going to be a great asset to our community to protect people, to protect their property, and of course to protect the first responders themselves. But it's those kind of bold moves we need to do. We never want to get too comfortable and sit back and look at what we did rather than what needs to be done. And when I was making a decision to run for this term, this new term, that weighed in as well. And I've questioned myself, you know, are you finished or are you just coasting? We're not coasting. We've got the pedal to the metal, and we're going to be looking at those kinds of creative things to continue to move our community forward as we go from here.
Absolutely, and one of the prime examples of that, folks, was if you go to your library, and don't forget it, when the tornadoes hit all across Boone County and Kenton County and Campbell County, and I went out and filmed all of that and how the FEMA works and how the system works. One of the reasons I did that and gave copies of all those tapes to every library in the Northern Kentucky Ed District so they could see it and learned from it, and gave copies to the governor who came up, and all the damage that was done and the lives that were lost. One thing that comes out of learning something like that and looking at it is that planning for the future, and that's what you all are doing.
Absolutely.
Planning for the future. That's one of the reasons. Now, I'm not gonna ask you to comment on this, but I'm gonna make a comment that I support, myself personally, the entire fiscal court be put back in. I always figured if it isn't broke, don't fix it. And so it's working well. So I myself endorsed the fiscal court, not only here, but in Kenton County also. And I also endorsed the Commonwealth attorneys in all three counties, because I felt like they've all worked hard and done a good job. I've sang for them. So I can't help but be for them, if they call me and ask me to sing for them, Judge, you know how that is.
That's right.
And I'm proud that we've got elected officials like that in office. That doesn't mean that I'm against somebody that's running against them. That's America. That's the greatest. I was a government teacher, advanced government teacher. And that's one of the greatest things about our democracy, is that you have a right to say, I might have a better, a mousetrap,
Absolutely.
And so, but those are some of the things that I've done and doing, and I'm just thrilled that Boone County is on the move like it is, and that you've done such a great job. Now, one thing I want to come back to, not just the school systems, but I want to come back to our airport. Now, I know that originally Kenton County started the airport, but it's in Boone County, and then Cincinnati tried to run the airport. But thanks to Boone County, we've got now Boone Countyans more so on the board too, and because it's a big part of Boone County, and there's some new developments out there with new transportation hubs. Tell us about that, and I also want you to talk about the fact that, we've got, 3 cities in Boone County,
Yes.
but the county area of the county is about 90,000, isn't it?
You're exactly, the unincorporated area outside of the cities is 90,000 people. And I'll start with that, if that's all right.
Yes.
When you think about the largest cities in Kentucky, Louisville, of course, is by far the largest. Lexington is second. But the third largest city in Kentucky now is Bowling Green. Bowling Green has around 65 to 68,000 people in it. So they're the third largest. Used to be it was Covington, but Covington's not anymore. But 68,000 people in Bowling Green. So they like to boast being the third largest city. But we in Boone County, the county structure, we have to be the first unit of government to those 90,000 people, because there is no other unit of government. So we are dealing with subdivision streets, we're dealing with barking dogs, we're dealing with all the things that a city would do. So essentially, Boone County is the 4th largest county. We're about 132,000 people now for the entire county, but 90,000 are under county government services only. You mentioned 3 cities. In Kenton and Campbell, you have 17, I believe, in one, and 19 in the other, in Kenton and Campbell. We only have 3. And that's a good question. When I speak to school groups or even adult groups, I'll ask, name the 3 cities in Boone. They'll mention Burlington usually right away, because it is the county seat. They might mention Hebron or Richwood, Verona, you name it. But the only 3 incorporated cities are Florence, Union, and Walton. Florence, Union, and Walton. The rest of those communities are part of unincorporated Boone County and under the county government structure. Another trivia question is, there's only 2 counties that have a county seat that's not incorporated. And one of those, I believe, is Martin County. I won't say for sure, but I believe it's Martin County. And they're a small rural county. But the other one is Boone. You would not expect the 4th largest county in Kentucky to have a county seat that's unincorporated. So we do some amazing things. We're getting ready to build a new Veterans Plaza there. And we're just trying to continue to mold that community into something really special, being the county seat. But you started with the airport, and I'll circle back to that. Really, Chris Knockelman, who's going to be on with you and next week, I think you said,
Mhm.
deserves most of the credit for the changes that took place in the board structure of CVG. Cincinnati International Airport, Cincinnati Northern Kentucky International Airport is owned by Kenton County Airport Board. It's an asset of Kenton County Fiscal Court. But Judge Knockelman, in his selfless act, felt like that the board members that were not voting members, that they were basically second-class citizens, and that the board needed to be voting members all the way through. So the advisory board was eliminated. Working with the state legislature, the new board structure is 13 members. Kenton County still controls the majority, and I can understand that, because they own it, and they should, but they've opened it up. Boone County now has 2 appointments, so I nominate, the commissioner would vote it up or down. In the old days, the judge had full appointing power with no fiscal court approval. But today, the judge nominates and the fiscal court approves the appointment. We have 2 in Boone, Grant County has 1, Campbell County has 1, the governor has 1, and Kenton County has 8. That gives them the majority. But that is the 13-member board that governs. But I will say that no matter who appoints who, the board, once they are together as a unit, as a board, I've never seen them vote along the lines of the counties that appoint. They come together and they do great things. The best thing they're doing is keeping and supporting Candace McGraw. Candace is the CEO, she's the day-to-day operator manager of the airport, and she's doing an amazing job.
Wonderful.
She is bringing low-cost carriers. Other carriers are growing and expanding here, additional cities served, more direct. Just last week, the WOW airline announced, they had their first flight arrive. I was out there at midnight when the first flight was leaving, and we were cutting the ribbon. But that's a direct flight from Cincinnati to Reykjavik, Iceland. And from there, they serve something like 22 cities in Europe. So from Cincinnati, you can get on, and by the way, the flight to Reykjavik is $99 each way.
Oh, praise the Lord, pay us the
Yeah.
ammunition of godly principles. Probably not godly principles, just keep the price low.
Amen to that. But those are the kind of things that are happening. And on the cargo side, of course, winning the Prime Air project, a nationally recognized project where Amazon is gonna be building their world hub here for their air cargo facility, called Prime Air Hub. But they're gonna be investing $1.5 billion with a B, $1.5 billion. They're gonna be hiring thousands of employees, and they're going to just continue to do great things. I think you'll see that also help transform our community. So with all of that in play, CVG is the fastest growing passenger airport in the United States, but it's also the fastest growing cargo airport in the United States. So amazing things are happening there.
They are happening, and I have to mention something. You know, June and I traveled through Europe many years ago, including 2 communist bloc countries, and filmed history all the way through 8 countries in Europe, and had a great trip over there. But right today, you're a part of history here, because one of Northern Kentucky's young girls, the name of Megan Guyman, is just married a fellow by the name of Tim. They got married this morning, as a matter of fact, in Germany. And their whole family, Keith Guyman and all the kids, including one of my wife's favorite nephews, Eric. I think there's 4 girls in the family. Allison, June's not in here to tell me about this, all of them. Laura, who's a school teacher. And, but they're all over there in Germany right now in a beautiful German church there, getting married. Of course, over there, you know, you have to get married at the state office first, and then go remarried at the church. So
Is that right?
that's how they do it over there. They're coming back here for the reception, by the way. But you know, it shows you how small the world is today.
Yes.
And you can meet somebody, and they met each other in technology. I think both of them were with Microsoft, I believe. And they met each other and are getting married. And we're talking about people traveling throughout those countries. And of course, when we went over there, the communist bloc countries, Yugoslavia and Czechoslovakia and Hungary, were all still had the Iron Curtain up when June and I was over there, but we went all through there on the old rickety rack train. It's great to have people and transportation, and it brings business to northern Kentucky and to Kentucky, because we tried to promote Kentucky as much as we could. I think I sang my old Kentucky home as many times over there as I do here in Kentucky.
Yeah, they need to know about our rich heritage here in Kentucky as well.
Well, that's true, a rich heritage here.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
now, is there anything else that we're getting close to the end of our show here today? And I know you're up for re-election this Tuesday. Now, people, citizens out there in Boone County and in northern Kentucky, if you want my opinion, I'm not gonna give it to you all right here, right now, because it's too many people, but you can go to my Facebook page. If you wanna see who I recommend, and of course, I can tell Gary, this sitting right here, I recommend him. I mean, who wouldn't recommend him, frankly? Goodness gracious sakes alive. He's been an asset to Boone County and to northern Kentucky. And he's got two compatriots right now over in Kenton County and Campbell County, Judge Pendry in Campbell and Judge Knockelman in Kenton. A whole slew of people there that are hard-working people. But Gary's a hard worker. I've known him since he's a very young man, and I'm proud to say I support him, and we wish you well in the race. And if you want to check out and see who else I said some nice things about, I don't say anything negative about any of the opponents, because it's a blessing to run for public office, win or lose. I mean, I lost the race. I filmed the history of all the counties that time. Lost the race, but I did something constructive in the race to bring about history. And so you can join me on Facebook, John Stephenson, just like under John Stephenson with a PH, John Stephenson, Stephenson, on Facebook, and friend me on Facebook. I'd be glad to have you as a friend, and you can see there who I've recommended in all three of these counties in northern Kentucky. And we're gonna have all of the county judges on, starting with Chris Knockelman next week, and then eventually Judge Pendry and the other judges from the 4 or 5 rural counties too will be coming on. And Gary, is there anything you'd like to close with and say to the people of northern Kentucky?
Well,
and Boone County in particular?
Thank you for having me on today, and our friendship does go way back, and I respect what you do to continue to make our community better, so thank you for that. When you run for public office, you do put yourself out there. You put your reputation, your name, and we all work through life to be able to build our character and our reputation. And sometimes in politics that goes awry, and it can happen even quicker today with social media. It just breaks my heart to open up and read some of the things I read, not only about myself, but about other candidates that I know aren't true. I would just ask the people to verify, to question and verify. And you know, we talk about that in religion too.
Absolutely.
It's fine to question the Word of God, but verify, and you'll come to the right answer. As we think about some of the things that happen in politics today, don't believe everything you read. Now, I'm not going to slam the mainstream media, but I used to believe everything I read in the newspaper also.
We learned that lesson here.
Yeah, and when you enter public office and you become an elected official, you'll read a newspaper story or a headline, and you think, were they at the same meeting I was at? That's not the way it happened. And but in political races, you know, question and verify. Don't believe everything you read. You might not agree with some of the things I've done, with the vote I've taken, but I'm honest. When I give you my word is golden. And, there's an old saying, I may not be the best man, but I'm the best man running. And, in this particular case, look at qualifications, look at our track record, our history, and also the fact that we're not just resting on laurels. We have a plan. We need to execute that plan. We need to continue to move forward. And it would be an honor and a privilege to serve you. I would consider it a blessing to be able to serve you for 4 more years as your judge executive. And I would echo what you said about the other judge executives in our region. They also work hard. They do have a vision for our future. Judge Knockelman is unopposed. Judge Pendry does have an election, and I think he deserves to get 4 more years. And then our judges to the south of us, McFarland and Gallatin County, I think, has a race, and
Fields and
Pendleton County has a race. Again, but I wanna just say from my perspective on my particular situation, thank you for allowing me to serve, and it would be an honor and a privilege to do it again. I do ask for your vote next week, and again, John, thank you.
Well, God bless you.
Yes, sir.
Same was here, let's, close out today, we got a minute left here, and I just have to say, what will I do for a minute? When June says, is he gonna sing? And I say, everybody loves somebody sometime. Makes no difference when or where or how. Everybody loves somebody sometime. And Gary, it's your time right now. God bless you. Great to have you on. Are you ready? Where are you from? Where are you going? What are you seeking? And are you ready for the Lord? Go out and vote this Tuesday. It's your civic duty. It's your civic duty to protect the freedoms of our land. Go vote. Go vote for the person of your choice. Amen.
Good job, fellas.
Turn that little camera off for me, hon.
I enjoyed it.
Was that okay?
Oh, my goodness, that was